And we did. And there was this character, this lady with long skirt, and I mean, she looked as if she was lived in 1850 instead of 1950s. And she said, "Oh, do come in." And I'll never forget walking into her house. You walk through the breezeway, which was all closed in, and there was an incredible dollhouse, a fantastic dollhouse with dolls in it. And she said, "Oh, you must meet Captain Shakespeare, and this is Mrs. Shakespeare." These were characters. I mean, we didn't know what on earth was going on. And then we walked through another part, and there was a big floor-to-ceiling cage, and there were all these birds flying around in it. And then we walked into the main part of the house, and there was Tweety the starling flying around, and the cat and everything else. And we spent a week with her.
Wow.
It was absolutely enchanting. I mean, here, she knew nothing about us except Tudor relatives, so I can tell you, being a Tudor relative gets you into a lot of places. At least it did in those days. And we had the best time with her. It was really, and with her family, but she was, the incredible part. She was such an amazing woman. I remember she said she felt just much more comfortable in the 1850s, so that's the way she was trying to lead her life. And she did everything. She was just fantastic. Planted the wheat, ground it, baked the bread, planted the hemp, spun it, and made shirts for her family. I mean, she had the most magnificent flower garden. She had cows and goats that she milked. She was just extraordinary. Plus, painting all the little books and the illustrations. And she was married to a guy named Tom McCready, who probably was the only person in the 1950s who would have married her, because she was a little strange. She said, "Well, I think I'm a white witch, but that's the way it is." And he managed the business side of things, but she actually supported the family with her illustrations and her books. And it was a magical thing. And when it was time for us to go, she said, "Oh, you must go to Hancock and see Cousin Elsa." And we had never heard of Cousin Elsa. But we drove down from Concord and looked up Elsa de Pieper, who turned out was another Tudor relative. And so you were asking, how did we get to Hancock?
Right, that was.
And then we'd never heard of Hancock. And we ended up renting. It was very hard to find a place to rent in those days, and we ended up renting. This was before Tara was born. I was pregnant with her, but she wasn't born. We ended up renting a house in Peterborough, on the old Dublin Road in Peterborough, for 3 months, where we had magnificent blizzards. We were there from March until June, and the snow was 2 or 3 feet deep, and we had to get snowshoes to go in and out of the house that we rented. We had a big tunnel to get into the door of the house, and it was just magical. And then we found, we were looking for a piece of land, and what we were essentially thinking of doing was just digging the ditches and pouring the concrete foundations and building a house ourselves. But we were in touch with the guy who was in real estate, and we'd made out a big long list of what we wanted in a piece of land, and there was a lot of land here going for $2 an acre in those days. And we said open fields, stone walls, running brooks, deep forest, all that kind of stuff. And we rented Dorothy Leyland's house out on the old Dublin Road, the old Antrim Road, here north of town. And Blake Sabine, this real estate guy, got in touch and said, found something that, oh, and we said no view of Mount Monadnock because we knew that you would have to pay more for a
Right.
view of Mount Monadnock. And he came one day and said, I think I found something you might be interested in, but it has two things that don't go with your desire. One is that it has a really beautiful view of Mount Monadnock, and the other is that it has a house on it. So we went and saw it and walked in the door, and it was such a wonderful, simple, spare